would Taylor, based on just our statement, Queen is best because rock genre, again, goes across several genres, would we be able to say that Taylor agrees with that? Yes or no? Ooh, Cora shaking her head yes, but I disagree. I think that just because her conclusion here is that Queen is best, right? We don't know that rock is the best genre from that. Granted, I would assume that Taylor would probably be more likely to agree with this than disagree, but technically, do we know? No. And this is the fun part about disagree questions is when we go through the first time, if the first person or the top person that we're referencing, if we don't know, we just get to cross that answer choice off. Because if we don't know what one person thinks about it, then how do we know if they disagree or agree? So if the second answer choice was Beyonce is the best, would Taylor agree or disagree with that? Disagree, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where, if I had my little line, I'm just going to write Beyonce, I would write no. And I would keep going. So let's say for answer choice 3, whatever it is, she would say yes. Answer choice 4, we don't know what Taylor would say. Answer choice 5, she would say no. Then what I do is, one thing that's cool is we've already eliminated 2 answer choices here. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to look at the second person and we're just going to focus on the second person. And I'm going to go through the 3 answer choices that I have left, B, E, or B, C, and E, and ask myself, would Nikki agree or disagree with this? So answer choice B, would Nikki agree that Beyonce is the best? Yes. And the second that I have this, I know what they disagree on. So let's continue and say maybe answer choice C, we don't know what Nikki would say. So even though it might even be likely that she would say yes, if we don't know, we have to cross it off because we don't know what she would say. And maybe for the last one, she would also say no. And since they both would say no, they agree, right? They don't disagree. And so that's how we're going to come to our answer choices on this. Does anybody have any questions on this approach so far? All right. Did everybody do the disagree questions from that one sheet that I sent out from last class that we didn't get to?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and try one now. Let's just do one. So 10. Derek, can you go ahead and read what Richard says?
Yes, Richard, because it fails to meet the fundamental requirement of art that it represent, abstract art will eventually be seen as an aberration. Jiangsu, although artists, like musicians, may reject literal representation, makers of abstract art choose to represent the purely formal features of objects, which are discovered only when everyday perspectives are rejected. Thus, whatever others come to say, abstract art is part of the artistic mainstream.
All right. So what is Richard's conclusion, Trish?
Richard's conclusion is that abstract art is going to be seen as an aberration, and it fails to meet the fundamental requirement of what art is.
Yes. Our conclusion is abstract art will eventually be seen as an aberration, and our reasoning is because it fails to meet a requirement of art, which is that it represents. Excellent. Jemmy, what is Jung Soo's conclusion?
The last sentence, which I'm always scared of, like,
I had nightmares about that question from last class.
yeah, but the conclusion would be abstract art is part of the mainstream, artistic mainstream.
Yes, abstract art is part of the artistic mainstream. Excellent. So we were going to go about this is actually a tough question, by the way, even though it's only a number 10. So what I would like everybody to do is, even if you've already answered this, go ahead and draw your line and go ahead and do the approach of what would Richard say and then what would Jung Soo say. So start with Richard and go through and say, would Richard say yes or no to this statement? And once you're done doing Richard, go ahead and do Jung Soo, and then just put done in the chat when you're done. If you're finished, go ahead and go through the other answer choices and write down like how you could change them to make them correct. That it would be like, what could you change about that statement that would make it be something that they would disagree over. And we'll take 60 more seconds for people to fill out their charts. Okay, so let's go through and have Gina. Hopefully your brain's working now this morning. Now that it's 6:13 a.m. your time. Will you go ahead and go through and walk us through if Richard would agree or disagree with these statements? So start with letter A. Oh, you're on mute, Gina. You're still on mute. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I don't have a really good connection, so I might.
Okay, I can hear you well right now.
Okay. Makers of abstract art reject literal representation. So based upon what Richard would believe, that would be true. So yes, he would say that abstract art rejects literal representation.
Okay.
Do you want me to go and then say what John
Yep.
Sue?
No, I want you to do all Richard.
Oh, all Richard. Okay. The fundamental requirement of art is that it represents. And I would say yes. Richard also agrees with that.
Okay.
And C, musicians may reject literal representation. Well, we don't know because he didn't talk about musicians at all.
So what are we gonna do?
So question mark.
Nope.
So
What are we
cross
gonna
it off.
cross it off?
Cross it off.
Yeah, this is a I love when this happens.
Okay, and D, abstract art will be seen as aberration. Yes, we'll agree that Richard will agree with that as well. And then E, abstract art is representational. I wasn't sure about this one, to be honest, but I put no.
No, and we know that
Or is
because
it
it says it fails. So it's saying that abstract art fails to meet the fundamental requirement that it represents.
Oh, okay, got it.
Excellent. Does everybody agree with her yes and no's for Richard? Or did anybody have a conflict? Did anybody disagree with her? Probably about other things, right? Just not this question. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that would be ongoing forever.
Join the list, right? Okay, Mel, can you go ahead and do Jiangsu for us? Or you're on mute too.
Oh, sorry. Hi. So makers of abstract art reject literal representation. Will Jungsu agree with that? Well, because he says makers of abstract art choose to represent the purely formed features of objects, which are described only when everyday processes are rejected. So I guess art reject. I said yes, but I could be wrong.
No, I think you're right. But since they both say yes, do they disagree on this?
Mm-mm.
No, we get to cross it off, right?
Right.
No, excellent.
Okay, so B, the fundamental requirement of art is that it represent. I think they kind of agree on that one.
We're not asking if they agree. I'm just asking you, does Jungsu agree with it or not? You're correct, but I want to get everybody on the mindset.
Okay.
Focus on these as their individual goals, because when we get to tougher disagree questions, we're less likely to make mistakes if we focus on a smaller task at hand.
Mm-hmm. So would he agree on that? The fundamental art is that it represents. I think so. Or maybe not.
What do
did you ask me?
Think?
I said I don't know,
Right.
towards yes. Like I wasn't completely sure, but I think if anything, it would be he does agree to that one. So I agree with Mel.
Perfect. So you were saying, Katie, it would be yes or I don't know?
Yes.
So in that situation, what do we do with that answer? Does it matter? Is there any difference between having a yes and a yes and an I don't know?
Cross it out, right?
Okay, so this is a hint. An I don't know is a no. So I don't know, no. That sounds really silly, but if we don't know, it's not, well, maybe, it's, well, I mean, it is maybe, but because it's a maybe, it's a no. So I don't know is a no.
Oh.
Does that make sense? And that's just to get faster. Like I'm breaking it down to this level because this is truly how this is how you actually are faster by breaking them into two, because whenever you're focusing on both of them, what you tend to do is you read one answer choice and then you go up and you read both of them again. And then you read B and then you go read both of them again. But whenever you read one, it's easier to remember one, read Richard once, and then just read the answer choices and not have to keep going back and forth, which maybe other people don't do that, but I would do that. I would read them. Yeah. All right. So what about D, Mel?
Abstract art will be seen as an aberration. I don't think he would agree with that. Well, he didn't talk nothing about it.
So you said no.
Aberration.
Okay, so I'm gonna put a no. You're kind of thinking.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put a no here for a second and circle it.
I'll put no. Okay, great.
So, and then E. What did you say for E?
Abstract art is representational. I say yes for that. Okay. I think he will.
So in this situation, we have 2 points of which they disagree, right?
Right.
So one of them we didn't get correct. For this question in particular, it was pretty easy for me to go with E, even though, right. And I didn't spend a lot of time, if I was doing this in a time section, figuring out why D was wrong. I just knew E had to be something they disagreed with. However, that's not good enough on blind review. Like, I need to know why D is wrong. Does anybody know why D is incorrect and why we don't know if they disagree on it or not?
He never really talks about it in John Sue's and his like point of view. He never mentions it. So I just cross it out because I don't see a disagreement with aberration. I don't think he'll think that it's unwelcoming.
I think his opinion would be that, his opinion is that abstract art is a part of the artistic mainstream. So I don't think he thinks that it should be seen as an aberration. However, what he is saying is that abstract art will be seen. He might not agree with the fact that he might not agree with the complaints that Richard or people with that mindset have, but that does not mean that he doesn't like. I'm trying to think of an example. Let's say that I might disagree with something, but that's the direction life is headed. And so I don't disagree with that's the way it's headed, or I disagree with what's happening, but I don't disagree that that's the direction we're going. Does that make sense or no? Let me think of an example. Sorry, can I give an example, Kitty, and then you can share? So let's say that a college degree will eventually be worthless. Let's say that a college degree will eventually be worthless. And I might think that I might disagree with that personally. Like, I think a college degree is worth something. However, I can see that society is heading the direction that a college degree will eventually be seen as worthless. Is that helping? So, and that's what's happening here with D. Jiangsu, and at the end of the day, Mel, you were right about Jiangsu didn't have an opinion about it being an aberration. But I think a lot of people take, it is a part of the artistic mainstream to assume that it won't be. But we don't know that. This is his opinion. All right, what were you going to say, Katie?
I was just going to say, and I think the first part of that sentence with thus whatever others might come to say suggests that that other people will probably have an opinion that differs from his. So if his is...
Oh, I like that. Even more attention to detail.
Then there has to be something that conflicts with that for him to saying, even though it will happen, it's not the truth.
Yeah, we have no idea what number is others. Fabulous. And this comes back to, this is a top-down question. And so what do we have to do on top-down questions? We have to stay between the lines. So we can't add to anything. And this is an example of something that some people will spend 45 seconds on just debating between D and E. And if we can get that down to 15 seconds, that's significant.